everybody. So my name is Mark Schoennagel. I'm one of the evangelists at Unity, and yeah, good to be here. And what we're going to talk about today is just a little bit about developing AR and VR applications for Unity. We're going to do about maybe 10-15 minutes of PowerPoint, which is always boring, but just want to show you all the different things you need to do to get started developing with Unity. And then I'll give you a quick little tour of the UI of the Unity editor and just show you how we can build a quick little VR project. So I'm just going to start off by playing our demo reel from Vision Summit. This happened a few months ago. This is a conference we hosted in Hollywood, similar to this, where we just had a lot of VR industry people come out, AR industry people come out, and just kind of share some experiences, share some development ideas and things like that. It was a really, really successful event. There was the Oprah moment where Gabe gave everyone a free Vive if you were attending, which was quite nice. And this is just a look at some of the titles that are available now or coming in the future that were made with Unity for VR. Some of these you've probably seen, some of these are still unreleased. I could make some demo reel kind of music sound effects, but I won't. How many of you have Oculuses out there? Anyone have a Vive yet? Nice. Very good. All right, cool. Well, hopefully you'll learn something today. A VR reel just isn't as good when you're not in VR. It's kind of the bummer about all that. Silence. Maybe not. Cool. All right, well, that was a very exciting reel. Amazing sound effects, really great audio on that. Loved it. That's all me, by the way. So for those of you who are new to Unity, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the company. We are the world's most used game engine, which is pretty cool to say. We're cross-platform. We support 25 different platforms. Unfortunately, the little BlackBerry one right there, that one's going away. We got to get rid of BlackBerry. But we've added one. We've added HoloLens recently, so that's pretty cool. So some good stuff there. We are 950 people. I joined about 2.5 years ago, and we were about 400. So the company's literally doubled in size just in the last 2 years. We have 18 offices worldwide. Copenhagen is our main development office. San Francisco is our main kind of corporate office. So just right up the street through some traffic, which I sat through all morning long. Super exciting. There are 5 million, actually over 5 million registered Unity developers right now, which is a pretty staggering number, which is actually a really great thing, though. If you go to our forums, there's a lot of active discussion on our forums, a lot of stuff on YouTube. There's just a lot of people who are excited about Unity who post stuff regularly. So, if you can't find your answer to a question in the docs, which is often the case, not that they are bad or anything, but often you're just looking for a little bit more information, go to the user forums, post some questions, and guarantee you'll get some good answers. Let's see. So let's talk about VR. That's, I think, why we're all here, and AR, of course. A number of different headsets are out there, a number of different ways of using those headsets. Everyone's kind of wanting to do their own thing right now. And so at Unity, what we want to do is really just kind of funnel that back into a very easy way for people to do VR. We don't want people to have to download a whole bunch of separate plugins for one package and a whole bunch for other package. We really want it to be as easy as one click checkbox, which I think we're getting close to having. So I'll show you all that in just a bit. Let's just talk about some of the different platforms first. First, we have Google Cardboard. It's VR on the cheap. Pretty cool. It was my first VR experience. I thought it was pretty darn amazing. I got this thing in the mail, folded it up, and then I looked like that guy on the left shortly after, which was super awesome. It's all it takes. You just fold it, and you get that look on your face, and everything's good. Some things to develop for Cardboard. You need a few things. So if you are developing for Cardboard, this is the most recent stuff you need to download. You need the Android SDK. That's pretty much going to always be the case as far as I know. Anytime you want to build for Android on Unity, you have to download the SDK. Then there's the Cardboard SDK, which comes with a Unity demo. You may want to get that. That's just going to get you going really quick. Couple nice tutorials in there, all the stuff you need to build for Cardboard. And then you still need the Java dev kit as well. So you'll want to download that, which is everybody's favorite. But from there, it's pretty much straightforward. It doesn't use the one-click method yet, which I'll show you in the software what I'm talking about when I say that. But that's coming soon. So Google, we've announced a partnership with Google, which is great. More on the high end, we have the finally now shipping Oculus Rift, which is fantastic. I'm carrying both a Vive and a Rift in my suitcase, which is pretty nerdy, and the things I do in my hotel room, rearranging furniture to use my Vive, is the most nerdy, but that's beside the point. Housekeeping writes me funny little notes as to why I've rearranged my stuff. But anyway, the Rift is nice because you can just stay sitting down. And you know, Oculus they are an official partner of ours. So for developing on Oculus, it's really it's very straightforward. You download just the Oculus SDK. The OVR plugin, I think that's actually going away, but right now you still need that. But once you're inside of Unity, you just click the little checkbox that says virtual reality supported. You build for PC, and it's automatically going to be set up for Oculus. All the head tracking, everything. The controllers we're working on, controller integration as well. So all that should be really, really easy. Of course, you need to have a decent PC that has all the the power that you need to do that. But anyway, Gear VR, they're another one of our partners, which is great. So again, single-click checkbox. It's very similar to Google Cardboard because it uses the Android development kit. So you still need some of those things, but you don't need any kind of extra plugins. Everything is built in Unity, right from the core package. So you just basically click your build, make sure you're in Android, click the little virtual reality checkbox, and you're good to go. There are a lot of I would say restrictions when you're developing for Cardboard and for Gear VR. You're just dealing with a little 2 or 3 watt GPU. You're dealing with polygon counts around the PlayStation 2, Xbox One kind of era, but you do have usually like a gigabyte or so of texture RAM, so you can really throw some high-res textures at it, get your detail kind of set more with textures as opposed to high polygon counts. But you do have some limitations there. Once those phones start to get hot, they automatically throttle down. So you really have to start thinking when you're developing this thing of the phone not running at full speed, because if someone's playing your VR game for more than a few minutes, your phone is going to hit that thermal limit and throttle down. So there's some stuff in Unity that you can do to specify, hey, start the CPU at 70% or whatever, so that you're already throttled down once the game starts, so you don't wind up getting people sick, because that's what happens once the frame rates get low, people start getting sick. It just introduces nausea when you're not at the right hertz. So Gear VR is 75 hertz. The Vive and the Oculus are 90 hertz, so a little bit better on that end. But 75 is still pretty good. Anything lower than that, and you get queasy pretty sick. So it's probably the biggest thing to watch out for when you're developing for mobile. And then the last one we have, actually not the last one, the HTC Vive. This one's really sweet. It's a bit complicated to set up. I wouldn't say complicated, but it does require a couple extra boxes and some wires and some things. But it is pretty amazing. If you haven't tried a Rift or a Vive, you should. It's full room. You can walk around. You can really look like an idiot when you're playing, but that's fine. So far, I haven't hit a wall yet, but that's okay. We've got a partnership with them coming as well. So in a very soon subsequent release of Unity, it'll be one checkbox as well. But for now, you just have to go download the plugin from the Unity Asset Store, and it really takes about 2 minutes to set up. You download the plugin, it's all set to go. But it does use a special camera. It does have some special controller inputs. The camera thing's going to go away once, like I said, in a later version. But it's very straightforward to set up right now. So Valve has done a great job of getting those tools out there. And actually, I think yesterday they released this. If you've used the Vive, there's something out there called the Lab Renderer. The Lab Renderer. It's just an experience that Valve has created. They've actually released the entire project, all the code, everything for it as open source. So you can download it right now from the Unity Asset Store. It does require Unity 5.4 beta, which is what I'm going to show you today. 5.4 is really all about VR and VR optimization. So we are much faster with that, which I'll talk about in just a second. Then there's also PlayStation VR, so Unity fully supports that as well. You do have to be a licensed PlayStation developer to get access to these tools, though. So it's really Sony is going to cut you the license for Unity if you're a PlayStation VR developer. It's a very cool headset. They've done a really great job with the displays, I find. There's very little of that screen door kind of effect you get from the pixels. They've got a pretty cool little technology they've come up to fix that. But that's not out yet, so we're still sort of anxiously awaiting its arrival at the end of the year. But it's a cool headset for sure. And then the last one, we have the HoloLens. So HoloLens is very, very cool. It's different. It's AR, so you've got holograms. If you haven't seen a HoloLens, what I find most amazing about it is just the vibrancy and the compellingness of the crispness of the holograms. Very cool. And then lastly, we've Vuforia. Vuforia is one of our partners, and they pretty much own the VR or AR market. So if you're interested in doing any kind of AR, just download Vuforia. They now support for HoloLens as well, but it plugs right in, and you're good to go. We're going to do a demo really quick, but I did want to show this slide. This came from Vision. For Unity 5.4, we really concentrated on the rendering pipeline, and we're actually pretty much double the frame rate from 5.3 to 5.4 with VR. So we introduced things like double wide rendering and render loops. Both of those things combined, you can see those are real benchmarks, and it was pretty cool to see. Right around the time I got my Vive, we have a kind of an internal Steam account where we see all these undeveloped games, and about half of them are really slow. I'm like, wow, this sucks because I got a good computer and this is slow. And then 5.4 came out, and then all those games were suddenly like fast and playable. So it's pretty cool. We were able to put our money where our mouth is and really come up with a good release for that. It's still a bit buggy. I'm going to show you 5.4 today. I really didn't need to show 5.4 because we're not actually going to build anything, and all I'm probably doing is getting myself wound up for a crash, but that's all right. I did crash on the plane yesterday, but who cares? Anyway, how about a little demo? So that's what I like doing. I don't like PowerPoints at all. So let's go and just kill this guy. And obviously we only have about 15 minutes left, so we can't go super deep into Unity, but I just wanted to show you how we can make basically a little game just from some simple assets that we have. A few little scripts, and then just using some built-in tools. So the first thing I'll do is just go into my prefabs folder. Prefabs are just, I think of them as like Unity Tupperware. They're like a zip file that has Unity assets in them. They can have Unity tools, things like that, whereas most of your geometries is coming from FBX. So anyway, I'm going to drop in my scenery file, or my scenery prefab right there, and you can see at the bottom, this blue progress bar pops up. So the reason it's doing that is it's starting to bake the lighting information. I actually don't want it to do that automatically, so I'm going to go into my lighting tab, window lighting, and I'm going to turn off the automatic light baking. And the reason I'm going to do that is I want to just set a couple settings here first. This one here, I'm just going to cut the resolution down from 2 to 5.5, which is about a quarter of the resolution. It's just going to speed up the baking process. If I was actually shipping this title, I'd crank that back up. But just so this happens really quickly, I'm going to bump that down a bit. I'm going to turn off Bake GI, and I'm going to press Build. It's going to say, hey, you got to save your scene first, okay, because it's going to save that light map that it's going to build. It's going to actually save that to the same folder. So I'll just call this AWE. Cool. And it's now baking those lights. Now, I actually have one other light in my scene. When I dropped in those assets, there is a directional light in there as well. So I now have two lights. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. And that's going to spend a couple seconds. That actually finished the bake. But by baking all of my lighting information, I don't have to calculate those lights every frame, which are really expensive. So if you can bake your lights, you're going to save yourself a lot of frame rate. This game here, this little experience is designed for Gear VR. So we're really trying to think optimally on how best to get a good looking result and also a good performing result. So just get rid of the lights, let the light be baked, and you're good to go. We still have one directional light, which will give us some nice shadows and things like that. But again, all the other stuff is going to be baked. So once we set that up, I need to build what's called a nav mesh. So what we're going to do in this little game is we're going to have some sheep walking around, and we're just going to be able to teleport around the different parts of the landscape. So for the sheep to walk around, we have some really cool automated technologies in Unity that allow you to just say, hey, you know what? This is my area. These are some obstacles. Objects just need to walk around and avoid those things. So you don't have to program any of that logic yourself. It's all very magical. But what you do is you go into your navigation settings here, and you just click the bake button. Boop, and it just baked it, just that quick. It's all baked. So what did it just bake? Well, if you look closely, whatever you see that's got like a blue tint to it, come on, mouse. I have a very small working window here. All right, let's use this tool. All right, do it that way. So if I zoom in, this is our little shear-o-matic. This is kind of a part of a workshop that we're building. When this is all done, the sheep will walk in there and they'll spit out like shaved and all that good stuff. It's funny. But we don't want our sheep to be able to walk through the shear-o-matic. So automatically it detected this geometry and it put this this box around it. So you can see that where it's green underneath. All of this blue area is areas that the sheep are able to walk. Everywhere where it's got a blue tint, they're not able to, or sorry, where it's still green, like we see here over the bridges, that's where they're not able to walk. So anyway, it does that all automatically, which is nice. I'll go back to my inspector view and zoom back out. So now that we've set our nav mesh up, let's go ahead and create a player. Now, one thing I'll show you right away is, let me just get my window to stop doing that so my menus stay up. One of the neat things here is if I go File, Build Settings, I've been mentioning this one-click workflow for VR. This is all you have to do right there to make this game work on an Oculus Rift. That's it. If I were to do a build right now, this would build and it would play just fine on my laptop. It would using the flat screen. My mouse would control the looking of the camera. If I check this, it'll now work. It'll now build for Oculus Rift. You hit go and it's just going to play on your Rift. Super simple. Couldn't be any more simpler. So that's cool. And same thing for Android. If I want to build for Gear VR, I change my build settings to Android there. And where is it on here? They've added a bunch of stuff here. So this is now quite a bit bigger than it was in 5.3. But here we have virtual reality supported as well. And here you can select your different SDKs. So Cardboard would be in there if you're using Cardboard. Oculus is in there if you're using Gear VR. So really simple to set that up. Again, keep saying that. I'm going to stop saying that. And cool. So I'm just going to keep that the way it is. Now, the neat thing about when you have the virtual reality supported checkbox, what that does is it takes your main camera and it makes it so that your mouse is no longer going to control what it's looking at. It's automatically going to shift all of that over to the head rotation. But the Gear VR doesn't track your position like the Vive does or the Rift does. All it does is track your rotation. So we want our character to be able to move around, but the Gear VR doesn't really have a mechanism for that. You have to hook it up to a controller or something. So what we're going to do in this experience is we're going to make a little teleportation system. You kind of see that a lot in VR where obviously you can't walk around a huge room, so you look somewhere and you push a button on a controller on the side of your headset, and you simply teleport over there. So that's what we're going to do here. So I need to set up a little mechanic to do that. So the first thing I want to do is create a game object which is going to represent the position of our person, of where we're going to be in space. So I'll rename this to player, like so. And I'm also going to tag it to be a player because one of our scripts later is going to look for that tag. That's the player object. Now I want to take my camera and parent it to the player. So what that means is wherever the player moves, the camera is going to go with it, but the camera's rotation is going to be controlled by the headset. The translation, the position of it's going to be controlled by this guy right here. So I'm just going to keep those two things separate, which will make this a lot easier to control. And you can see right now my camera is below my world and kind of floating out in the middle of nowhere. So let's go ahead and put our camera in a better space. First, I'm going to zero it out so that it's directly over top of my player object there. And now what I can do is just pick this up and pull our dude out of the ground, and I'll just position it back here like so. And this is really just for the start of the game where it's going to be. Once we actually start pushing buttons, we're going to teleport to different locations, and that's going to take care of that. So good there. That looks good. So we have our nav mesh. We have our players set up. So let's add a couple scripts. I'm going to put these scripts on here. If we have time at the end, I'll go over what the scripts do. They sometimes take a little bit of time to explain, but I've got a few scripts written here. One's called Player Mover, and one is called Camera Editor Controller. This one here, Camera Editor Controller, what this does is it just kind of fakes Unity out into while you're working with your game that you can use your mouse to look around, but once you actually build it, it's still going to use the VR headset to look around. So it uses basically a little command here that says if we're in the editor, well, I'll show you the script in a minute. It says if we're in the editor, use the mouse. If we're not in the editor, then actually use the headset. So that's on there. And by dragging and dropping that on here, we can see there is my camera editor control script. And then I have one other script here called Player Mover, which I'll also drag and drop onto my main camera. And you can see that this script is actually asking me for a couple inputs. It's asking me for where's the reticle and where is the teleportation effect, and actually what is the ground. Once I set my nav mesh up, we're going to use that nav mesh to basically make sure it's a valid location for us to teleport to. So if I click on my ground, you can see, now my ground selected exactly, you can see that the ground is on a layer called ground, like so. So basically, I need to tell that script what is the ground, and since I've labeled that as ground, I'm going to say, all right, well, that layer is the ground. We're just calling the layers right there, asking, hey, show us all the layers, and then we're going to expose those. The next thing is the reticule. So what the reticule is that guy. This is what's going to move around. So that's going to tell us where we're going to teleport to. We've added a little bit of lerping to that. Lerping is linear interpolation. So I was noticing that when you're moving around, the reticule is really precisely following what you're looking at. It almost kind of hurts your eyes, but if you put a little bit of a lag to it so it kind of catches up to you, it's a little more, it's better to your stomach, let's put it that way. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to grab my main camera here, and let's just grab our reticule from this guy, or ridicule, whatever you want to call it. I like how they're spelled differently. Apparently there's many ways of spelling that word. And then my teleportation effect. What is that? Well, I have a prefab here called teleportation effect. I'm just going to drag and drop that onto my main camera, which will parent it and place it precisely at the middle of the camera. And now I've got a little particle effect. Super easy to set this particle effect up. Basically, we're using just a few things. Under our emission, we're saying, okay, we're going to spit out about 20 particles. We're going to make them a cone, and we're going to shift their color over time from pure white to a clear transparent. And basically what that'll do is it's going to give us this look right there, which if we zoom in on it here actually in the editor, it looks kind of silly, like why would we do that? But when we're actually in the game, which is this view down here, we're our whole screen's going to turn white, and then we're going to magically appear somewhere else. So it's just going to be a nice little, kind of a cool little way of, kind of like the Star Trek teleportator, right? You just want to make some kind of a cool little visual effect that you feel like you're moving. So that's the teleportation effect. It's now parented to my player, and now that script is going to say, hey, whenever you touch the button and teleport, go ahead and play that effect back. So if I've done all this right, I should be able to hit play. I should be able to look around. So we're using the camera look script is what's overriding what normally would be the headset. And now you can see that little red arrow is moving around, and notice it has a little bit of lag. It kind of catches up to my mouse, so it's not stuck right on it. If I click the button, we fire off to that location and that location. Now, why is my teleportation effect not working? That's weird. What have I done? Main camera. Let me grab it from, oh, I know what I did. I grabbed it from the wrong spot. I think I put the prefab in. Let's try that again. There we go. Cool. Super exciting. So this is actually just using fire button 1. Oh. Super exciting. So what I just did there was loaded up a whole new scene, and we're done. No. Anyhow. So yeah, so I can teleport around. But you know what? Let's get some sheep in there. So I got some sheep. Some sheep. So I got Elvis the sheep. We'll put Elvis in. Hello, Elvis. Let's get the naked sheep. Let's drop him in there. He got shaved. And then the normal sheep. There we go. So if we zoom in. Oh, wrong key. There we go. Let's go double click on Elvis. So there's Elvis. And he's kind of the big woolly sheep. That sheep actually went through the shearomatic already. And this one's getting ready to. So if I press play now. Whoa. He went for a little tumble. They got some there's usually a pre-roll on that, but that was pretty funny. Anyhow, let's go here. So there's our sheep. They've got a little bit of logic on there. Again, I don't have a whole lot of time to explain all the logic that's going on there. They're supposed to avoid each other, but apparently they're not, so that's fine. They're fluffy. They're just brushing into each other. Okay, I want to give these guys some names, though. So one of the interesting things about VR is your UI. Generally, you don't want to put your UI like we put on Donkey Kong back in the day, right? You don't put stuff in the upper right corners anymore and left. Generally, you want to work your UI into your actual game. So I've created something here called nameplates. And what I'll do with these nameplates are just drop them onto my normal sheep, my baked sheep, my name, oops, sorry, one of the sheep. Let's go down here. Nameplate goes on this one. And we'll do one more nameplate on Elvis. Now, these nameplates have a little bit of code on them that says, what are you supposed to look at? So if I press play right now, you can see that. That's hilarious. I have not seen that yet. That's freaking hilarious. None of these, look, now his name is backwards. So none of the names are actually looking at the camera. So I've got a little tiny script, and I have one more minute left to go. I have a little script on here. I have a little input right there that's asking me, hey, just tell me what the player is. And I'm going to always look at the player. So if we drag this over here, oops, I'm going to grab our player, drag it over there. And I do this for each nameplate. Grab my player, drop it on there. Come on, there you go. And grab the last one, grab the player, drop it on here. And we'll do one more thing real quick. Let's give one a name. Let's go to our name. Let's not call it name. Let's call it Bobby. I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. Someone's out of time. That's called the out of time name. And that is freaking hilarious. So look, now wherever I go, they are looking at me, except for that guy who's not, or I guess he's fixed himself. He's just embarrassed because he's naked. Anyway, cool. Hey, look, there's Bobby Disfifuf. I'm out of time. I was going to try to show you some of those scripts, but anyway, it's hard to show a lot of stuff in 30 minutes. But anyway, hey, do I have time for questions?
We can take one question.
All right, one question. And I'll be around too if you have any other questions. Yes? This exact scene? Yes, the question was, is this scene available online? It is not currently, but it will be very soon. This is actually going to be a much bigger project that we're working on that's going to have, it's like a whole day workshop that I just figured I would whittle down into a little 15-minute demo for you today. Whittled. That's a funny word. Yo.
Okay, yeah, next speakers are...
Okay, all right.
We can take one more.
Yeah, it's one more.
Go ahead. It's absolutely magical. The fact that you can see this whole thing, drag and drop it without ever touching the keyboard in half an hour.
Well, I did touch the keyboard earlier writing some scripts, but that's a whole other story. But thank you.
This is really superpower.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Thank you.